Hey guys, Retro John here, and welcome to the episode. Um, so I thought with this video that I would go over and discuss my history of Dungeons and Dragons and why I play Dungeons and Dragons. What pulled me in to Dungeons and Dragons. So way back in my high school days, probably around between 96 and 99 when I started and graduated here in lovely Decatur, Illinois. Uh, I had had a rough life. Prior to that, I had went to a previous high school. Was bullied a lot, not for playing D&D just before, but for pretty much being me. I mean, I'd always been into comic books and toys, so perfect bully fodder. I moved here to Decatur. I went to Stephen Decatur High School. I graduated. And while that time, I met some friends who were like me. Except they were a little more into just comics and toys. They were into Dungeons and Dragon type games, role-playing games, tabletop. A friend of mine at the time, Travis, saw that I was going through a really dark time in my life. My mom had just passed away. And I liked playing this little game you might have heard called Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering kind of took me away from the real world. I was able to play this card game and collect. He's like, "Do you like Dungeons and Dragons?" I'm like, "I've heard of it. I used to love watching the cartoon." He goes, "Well, there's a game like Dungeons and Dragons called Vampire the Masquerade. You should play it." He goes, "You'd totally be into it," because at the time I was pretty borderline goth. I had a lot more than this, but I had a lot of long hair. I dressed in black t-shirts, black shirts in general, black pants, black boots, long trench coat. Not leather, it was cloth. And, because you would fit right in there. So I went over to the house, made a character. I was immediately into it. I absolutely loved it. I think we played one, maybe two sessions, and we stopped. I think because I was too good. I was too good at it at the time. Shortly thereafter, I was invited to one of our local Hardee's restaurant to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons. Now, this was my first dive into Dungeons and Dragons. Up to this point, I knew the cartoon, and I knew Dungeons and Dragons was supposed to be bad. I didn't believe it, I didn't care, but that's what I heard. Not from my mom, just from everybody else. And so I meet everybody at Hardee's, which is now a Culver's. Funny enough, even though they remodeled, I could still pinpoint exactly where we sat for this particular session, even though that area has completely been remodeled. It's weird. So this was AD&D. Excuse me. Messages. And so I never created a character before. I didn't know the rules. I thought the dice looked cool. And I think, if I remember correctly, I had picked one of the most complicated starter characters ever. I think I picked an elf wizard. And all these other guys, these more experienced guys, didn't have any characters set up for themselves. Like, this wasn't a game I was jumping into. It was going to be an all-new game, but they didn't have any characters created. Like, I literally think this was a last minute, like, "Hey, so-and-so, want to play D&D? Cool, Mason Hardee's. Hey, so-and-so, you want to go play D&D? Cool, call and tell so-and-so. We're going to meet up at Hardee's. Awesome." I think it was kind of that kind of deal. So what made it bad for them is here's the new guy who's never played before, never created a character, and how he's created a very complicated character. Because I have all these different spells. They're trying to explain to me this, that, and everything else. By the time they got their characters done, mine was almost done. And at this point, I think we were there for almost an hour and a half. And someone was like, "Oh, gotta go." Just right when we're getting ready to start. Like, I remember being in a tavern. Apparently, this is common. We started out at the tavern, and that's as far as we got. and somebody had to go, and somebody else had to drive them. That was it. That was my first experience with Dungeons and Dragons. It was a taste, and even I had that little taste. I'm like, I want more, but nobody played anymore. Nobody invited me. I didn't have books. I didn't have dice, so I couldn't invite people. Say, hey, let's play D&D. You know, I didn't have any of that. And I graduate, and that's that. I graduated in '99. So, for a while now, for a few years, I'd be like, God, whatever happened with that Dungeons and Dragons? I'm like, God, I'd like to play. And it was announced that they came out with 3rd edition. I didn't know what 3rd edition was. I didn't know the other ones. I didn't know the other one I played wasn't 1st edition. So studied up, and I went to my local Walden Books at the time, and I picked this up. Now this is pretty cool. This was pretty cool. This had everything you could want in it to play a game. This didn't come with miniatures. I wasn't introduced to miniatures till a little later on with 3rd edition. This came with a fold-out paper map. It had cardboard tile cutouts for the creatures, the monsters, and the player characters, and things like that. And yes, this is my original. This was for $9.95 at Walden's. This was I don't know if there was a date on this thing. This was 2000. This was around 99, 2000 year, and I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I read through all the books. I read through the adventure it came with, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And I had everything set up on my floor. I read on how to create my own character, and I'm just like, cool, I'm ready to play. Except I don't have anybody to play with. But that didn't stop me from getting the core books. Like, I got the Player's Handbook, the Dungeon Master book, the Monster Manual, and that just made me want to play even more. It's like, how do I find people to play? This isn't like being able to go on Facebook or even MySpace at the time and say, hey, who wants to play D&D? This was 2000 after all. Couldn't find anybody for a long time, for years, mind you. So I went, and I had a friend of mine, and we were on our way back from Chicago. We went to a comic book convention called Wizard World. This was 2003 now, I think. 2003 or 2004. We went both years. And I was telling him about Dungeons and Dragons. And he, of course, was like, Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm like, no, it's really cool. Like, okay, check this out. And I gave him a scenario. I was like, okay, you're standing in front of a statue. The statue is built, it's supposed to be, a place you go to for worship from a god. You're standing at the statue. What do you do? It's like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you do? It's like, what can I do? I'm like, you can do anything. I'm like, if you were standing in front of the statue, what would you do? It's like, I take a piss on it. I'm like, the clouds come up, and it's cloudy, and lightning strikes you. He goes, what? Why? I'm like, because you insulted the god statue. And we went from there, and the entire road trip home, we played Dungeons and Dragons. We didn't have dice, so we did the whole rock, paper, scissors deal. Or throw me out a number, and if it's a number that was close, we succeeded. That type of thing. Really rolled with the punches. We played all the way home, and he's like, oh, awesome, okay, I want to create a character. So we created him a character. Never played. So I was like, all right, well, damn. Because he was more into video games. The visual aspect. It wasn't until about, I think, 2005. It was around 2005. At this point, I'm going to a local comic book store, and I think I heard it from them that there was going to be a game night, a game day over at our local library, and one of the things they were going to be doing was they were going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm just like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go. if there are people in town that play Dungeons and Dragons, they'll know about this. I'll go and hopefully meet some people who play Dungeons and Dragons. And I go, just in case, when I went, I had a backpack and I shoved everything I had D&D in there. I put in all 3 core books. I put this thing in there, pad of paper, pens, pencils, everything I think I would need to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons. And I go to like a local library, and sure enough, there were, I'm not trying to name people. I'm trying to think. I know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people. 6 people there to play Dungeons and Dragons. I made 7, so that made 6 players and a dungeon master, DM. And they're like, "You want to play Dungeons and Dragons?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm looking around at all these people, and in my head, I'm like, "Okay, yeah, they look like they play D&D. They look like they play D&D. Yeah, definitely looks like they play D&D. What the hell is this guy doing here? It looks like he's about ready to beat all the people who play D&D up." His name is Mike, and I can throw that name out there because I know a lot of Mikes. Half my friends are Mike, so you don't know who it is. And ironically enough, him and I are the ones that end up becoming like the closest of friends. Like he even lived with me for a year or 2. But we played there once, I think maybe twice, and there was this one player. He would not shut up. We'd start to play. Wait a minute. We'd start to play again. Wait. It was rule monger. I mean, he carried his D&D life with him wherever he went. He had a nap, and I'm not exaggerating. He had his sack full of all the core books, rations. I'm pretty sure he had something in there he can make a tent with. We decided not to play there anymore because we didn't want to play with him. Because at one point, he was told that, if he doesn't let the DM run the game, he's not going to be able to play anymore. But he wasn't getting that. Pretty sure he had possible issues. And wrong or not wrong, we decided we were going to meet at one of the other players' apartment to play, which we did weekly from that point on for a few years. And it got to the point to where, it's this person. We would take turns bringing food or cooking food. And it was pretty cool. Like, one week somebody would bring pizza, another time somebody made horseshoes. Somebody made fried chicken, or, the popular thing was just to go get a freaking pizza and bring it. There were times when we just, like, what, if we're gonna eat, let's just go out and eat. We'll bring all our papers and dice with, and we'll play there at the restaurant. So it wasn't uncommon to find us, say, at Dairy Queen at the big round table, rolling dice and playing D&D. It wouldn't be uncommon for us to go to a fancy restaurant and do the same thing. There's a restaurant where I ate my first horseshoe. And if you don't know what a horseshoe is, look it up. It's besides the thing you put on the bottom of a horse's foot. It's a food. Look it up. I know, because I lived in Chicago. I had no freaking clue what the hell a horseshoe was when I moved here. Now I do. We're with this place in Springfield. I'm going to give them some props here. Called Darcy's Pint. Best horseshoes anywhere. Make sure you get extra teas. So we would go there and a few times, and we brought our character sheets and dice, and we sat there and played D&D while waiting for our food. We'd play D&D after we had our food. And, it's like we were taking up space. It got busy, we got up and we left. But, I mean, if we were spending money, And a lot of times we'd also say, "Hey, is this okay?" And they're like, yeah, just keep it down. Don't laugh too loud. And we were never loud. We were obscene. So from 2005 till now, so 15 years. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons for 15 years, and I've gone through 2 groups. The first group that I just mentioned, we gradually just kind of split, This person got involved with this person and went off their way, and this person got involved with that person and went that way. This person moved. These people move, and occasionally we'd get a new person added to the group, and eventually they'd go away. And at one point, I did no longer had a group. I went for a little while without playing D&D. A little bit. When I opened my comic book store, Geeking Out Comics, I decided it was a perfect time to get a new D&D group new D&D group together. That worked, and that's kind of who we have now. And occasionally, this group, they do go off and do their own thing for a while, and they come back, and so. But for the most part, I mean, we still have a little D&D group. Right now, I'm running a 3-person game, and that includes my fiance. I think there was somebody who commented on one of my previous videos. Do I have a girlfriend? Yes, I have a fiance. We're getting married this October. So, very excited about that. Very nervous about that. We haven't started anything. And yes, she's very cute and very pretty. I'll throw that out there. But well, no, she enjoys it. She doesn't get the role playing aspect, but she does love throwing out those magic missiles because they hit. So right now I'm doing a 3-player game every Friday, which is tomorrow night now. We do our D&D thing, and yeah, I mostly run the games. In fact, I believe we're getting ready to start a new game this Friday. So, as far as why I got into D&D, like I said, I was going through a really rough time. My mom had passed away in 1998. I was looking for an escape, and I'm telling you, there's no better escape than Dungeons and Dragons. If you like sword and sorcery and just the whole fantasy thing, this is for you. If you like the horror element, there's even D&D horror. We got the 5th edition Curse of Strahd, where you're literally, trying to fight a vampire along with mummies and zombies and werewolves, and so that's pretty cool. And then there's things in not D&D that you could tabletop related games. There's White Wolf has their system, like Vampire the Masquerade and Werewolf, Werewolf. I just know it's Werewolf. I know Firefly, the old TV show Firefly has a role-playing game. If you're more into the cyberpunk thing, guess what? They have cyberpunk role-playing. And it's fun. There are a lot of people who play. You would never think in a million years would play. Vin Diesel plays D&D. Joe Manganiello, I think his name is. Was it True Blood and Magic Mike? He plays. That was the one that surprised me the most when it was announced that he plays D&D. The great late legendary Robin Williams played D&D. Stephen Colbert plays D&D. If you're a wrestling fan, The Big Show plays D&D. So it's really cool. A lot of directors like Gunn, Jeff Gunn. I don't remember his name. The guy who directed Guardians of the first 2 Guardians of the Galaxy, James Gunn. He plays D&D. So a lot of famous people you would never even imagine plays D&D. A lot of great directors became directors and became writers of our most favorite movies and TV shows because of D&D. So, Dungeons and Dragons is awesome. It's a whole thing that looks difficult than it is. Really easy to get into. Just find a group and say, hey, I'd like to play, and just go for it. Just go straight in. I had gotten started with 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, and since then there's been Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition, which I was not a big fan of, and the current one that I really love is 5th edition. Basically, it's kind of the alteration of rules. Each edition is the alteration of the rules, characters, things like that. But I'm really loving 5th edition. 5th edition is very friendly. It allows you to incorporate previous D&D rules and things like that if you so choose to do so. It's very flexible. I actually really like it. Yeah. So, alright, so it's just a little brief video here of why I like D&D. So, if you're new to the channel, I ask, give me a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Appreciate it. It's all welcomed. And, comment below if you play D&D. Let me know what's your favorite character you've ever played. Are you still playing a character you've played for years? Let me know. Come on, give me some info. I won't steal, I promise. Until then, thank you very much for watching.